Good morning, everybody. It's my honor today to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Jeremiah Glenn, or JJ. Jeremiah Glenn is the current head of cyber threat information sharing at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA. He has a really long storied history of supporting our nation. All began during his military career, where he served as a corpsman for the U.S. Navy, and then he spent some time in the private sector as a consultant, support to the Obama administration, and then transferred over to the Department of Homeland Security, where he has focused heavily on cyber security up into the forming of CISA, where he moved over to the CISA side of things and has overseen CTIS, and to great success has helped a lot, and we're lucky to have him today to talk to us about cybersecurity, automation, and the federal government mission space in 2024. JJ, can you hear us okay? If you're talking, Jeremiah, we can't hear you. Hopefully you're still there. Yeah, we're currently still not getting audio from you.
He's on and his mic is open according to this, so I don't know what it is.
Anything in the chat, maybe?
He just went off, actually.
It might be the disconnect or reconnect. So CISA offers a wide variety of cybersecurity help to our critical infrastructure. A particular interest you might find there, the Joint Cyber Defense Collective, or JCDC, where the U.S. government and public industry, private industry come together to create cyber bulletins, cyber advisories, all freely available to the public. Additionally, they have threat feeds. Those might not be familiar with automated indicator sharing, or AIS, is a publicly available taxi feed.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
We hear you now, JJ, and I'm done vamping.
All right, I'm sorry about that. Okay, great. All right, so good morning from Atlanta, Georgia. I do live in the Washington, D.C. area and would love to have attended this event in person. However, due to extenuating family circumstances, I'm joining you virtually today from the southern United States to deliver this presentation. I'll also warn you that I'm suffering from stubborn seasonal allergies, so I will apologize in advance for my nasally and hoarse voice to some extent, and I can assure you that the red eyes are not the result of a hangover, but if I slur my words throughout this presentation, just know that that's new and emerging symptoms of allergies, right? No, just kidding, just kidding. But I will do my best to keep it together for the presentation. So again, my name is Jeremiah Glenn, also known as JJ, and I am Chief of Cyber Threat Intelligence Services here at CISA, where I am leading numerous cyber threat intelligence and information sharing strategy development, service development, and delivery efforts to bolster national cybersecurity community capacity. I oversee CISA's services such as the Automated Indicator Sharing Program, AIS, and I'm leading an exciting new effort to refocus and consolidate our customer-facing cyber threat intelligence offerings under a new initiative called Threat Intelligence Enterprise Services, TIES. So as a part of TIES, we are partnering with industry to develop and deploy a threat intelligence exchange platform, as well as a full suite of cyber threat intelligence services that will unify our information sharing capabilities under a single banner for federal agencies and certain user communities, enabling streamlined provision of cyber threat information from our partners and commercial sources, offering a common view which will facilitate communications and enable threat-specific engagement. So as we design and implement this central solution, CISA is working in parallel to modernize our AIS capability, which in the future will further complement CISA's curated threat feeds made available by this shared service platform. Okay, so enough about ties. A little bit more about me. I am a U.S. Navy and Marine Corps veteran that joined the federal civilian government in 2009 as a staff assistant in the White House Office of Public Engagement and Intergovernmental Affairs. Subsequently, I consulted in the private sector and on the Hill, working closely with members of Congress and industry to build sustainable public-private partnerships, and then joined the agency in 2011. So again, in my current role, I manage and oversee cyber threat intelligence-focused services and strategic initiatives within the agency. Prior to my current position, I led and managed CISA's cyber threat intelligence and risk analysis operations within our threat hunting subdivision, Legacy US CERT, right? So a bit of walking down memory lane for some of you who have worked with us in various different legacy capacities. I also led CISA's legacy 24/7 watch and warning analysis operations within the former NCIC, right? The National Cybersecurity and Communications Integration Center, now CISA Central, and led our cyber integration, our integrated risk analysis operations within our legacy Office of Cyber and Infrastructure Analysis, now the National Risk Management Center. And finally, I led strategic communications and intergovernmental affairs operations within CISA's legacy Office of Infrastructure Protection, again, now Infrastructure Security Division of CISA. So again, a bit of memory lane for many of you who have worked with us in those capacities. But throughout my time at CISA, I've gained unique and valuable insight and perspective into the cybersecurity community gaps, the challenges, the pain points. And I've had the pleasure of building an incredible team of highly intelligent, hardworking, passionate professionals that are committed and dedicated to fundamentally transforming the way government approaches cybersecurity, particularly through the application of cyber threat intelligence. And through recent and intense outreach and engagement efforts, we've gained a renewed appreciation for the challenges and struggles of resource-constrained teams and organizations in effectively leveraging CTI, and have heard firsthand from community over the years on how better coordination and collaboration at the federal level and across the global cybersecurity community could significantly enhance cybersecurity for the nation. And so it is both an honor and a pleasure to speak with you today. And while I do, again, apologize for not being there with you today in person, the significance of today's topic demanded my full attention and energy, as we CISA believe you all are leading and engaged in what we consider some of the most important work in advancing the nation's cybersecurity. So thank you for being here today, and thank you for being part of this wonderful organization and its mission to build community capacity to help achieve automated, proactive cyber defense. Please do give yourselves a round of applause. I would also like to recognize two of my CISA colleagues among you today, Mr. Marlon Taylor, who I believe is en route to the in-person conference right now, one of the nation's foremost experts in cyber threat intelligence standards and the co-chair of the OASIS Cyber Threat Intelligence Technical Committee, as well as Mr. Kevin Klein. Kevin, please wave. I think you're on virtually today. Our Cyber Threat Intelligence Technical Engagement Lead. I hope that during your conference participation, you have an opportunity to meet and engage with these exceptional individuals and professionals who are very passionate about building and promoting secure open standards. Okay, Charlie, let's get into it. Next slide. So, as my director, Jen Easterly, likes to say, CISA is America's cyber defense agency and the national coordinator for critical infrastructure security and resilience. And we're responsible for helping mitigate the most significant cyber risks to our nation, both as these risks emerge and before and after a major incident occurs. And while we all agree that secure by design is key to improving global cybersecurity, CISA's long-standing strategic investment in secure open standards is really critical to achieving community-wide interoperability to better enable seamless bi-directional flow of cybersecurity intelligence and information. If we can achieve our collective vision of secure, integrated, open standards across software and cybersecurity products and tools, we can help the nation achieve its goal of secure by design. And this is why for years, CISA has fully committed our time, our energy, and resources to the development and evolution of key cybersecurity open standards such as STIX, TAXI, Cacao, to name a few. And we'll dive into these specific standards in more detail a bit later. But in addition, CISA, through its enduring partnership with the Johns Hopkins University's Advanced Physics Lab, is leading and sponsoring cutting edge cyber threat intelligence standard development work to really build automation capabilities to share adversary tactics, techniques, and procedures associated mitigations at machine speed. We believe this new standard we call Indicators of Behavior, IOB, will eventually move the community beyond limited value IOC sharing into more advanced forms of detection, mitigation, and response that, when executed at scale, becomes much more costly for our adversaries. So I would like to take a moment to recognize two key partners and colleagues, Mr. Charlie Frick and Mr. Michael Vermillier from Johns Hopkins University Advanced Physics Lab. Charlie, Mike, wave. Who are leading this innovative work out at the lab and who I constantly give a hard time about their advanced physics responsibilities as chief scientist and senior strategist there at APL. So I hope you have the opportunity to engage with Mike at some point during your conference participation as well. All right, next slide. Now, you all have likely seen and heard CISA Director Jen Easterly over the past few months highlighting the threats that the People's Republic of China, PRC, pose to the United States through activities including espionage, cyber attacks, and cyber-enabled influence operations. Our partners at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence have made clear in their 2023 threat assessment how China represents the broadest, most active, and persistent cyber espionage threat to the United States government and private sector networks. So, who is Volt Typhoon, right? Well, we know that Volt Typhoon, a sophisticated Chinese state-sponsored actor active since at least 2021, typically focuses on espionage and information gathering and have compromised thousands of internet-connected devices to pre-position themselves for future disruptive attacks amid future geopolitical conflicts. Now, part of the plan is to disrupt communications infrastructure between the US and Guam during future crises, and we know that they are difficult to detect due to their use of valid account credentials and their ability to live off the land, successfully evading traditional detection and mitigation strategies. Now, our reporting indicates Volt Typhoon has been lying dormant inside US critical infrastructure for as long as 5 years. Now, I challenge us all to think about how, in addition to our collective work involving, victim engagement, international partner and industry engagement, planning and resilience, can the application of secure open standards enable more effective cybersecurity to combat this and other advanced persistent threats? So to answer this question, we must explore and understand our adversaries' CTPs, right? Good, so let's dive in. Next slide. So we know that Volt Typhoon's goal is to perform espionage and maintain access without being detected for as long as possible, relying almost exclusively on living off the land techniques to evade traditional detections and to blend into normal network traffic or network activity by routing traffic through compromised small office and home office network equipment, including routers, firewalls, VPN hardware. Even more, Volt Typhoon has been known to hijack victim computers to leverage as part of their botnet, which it has used to conceal internet traffic and malicious activity. They have also been known to customize open source tools to establish command and control channel over proxy to further stay under the radar and generate as little malicious activity as possible. So JJ, what is the government doing to mitigate this threat? Great question, and I'm glad you asked. So back in December of 2023, the FBI led a successful operation to take down Volt Typhoon's KV botnet. In addition, CISA has worked with NSA and FBI to release joint cybersecurity advisories, joint guidance for mitigation. And we are actively working with the USG, industry, international, and other key stakeholder groups to eradicate these threat actors from our critical infrastructure. But again, the key question today is, what more can we do? Next slide. Well, CISA believes that the application of secure open standards enable secure by design, and for an attack like Volt Typhoon allows us to represent all aspects of the threat in a common schema and rapidly share that critical information across diverse stakeholder and partner community without being beholden to multiple proprietary formats, and allows the community to access this critical threat information to initiate and perform appropriate cybersecurity actions at machine speed. We're talking automated, proactive cyber defense. And that's why we're all here today. Now, I am personally excited and intrigued about all the standards this community of subject matter experts are diligently working to build, advance, and promote here. And CISA has had a hand in both the development and continued evolution of many of these standards. But I would like to focus on a few key standards that we believe can and will work seamlessly together to address PRC and other APT activity now and in the future. Next slide. Now, again, the standards I have chosen to highlight here are a subset of the open standards CISA actively supports. And my goal for the duration of this presentation is to demonstrate how collaborative use of these standards can and will support the analysis and response efforts to threats like Volt Typhoon. So now let's dive deeper into these four standards, as well as their individual and collective value to detection, mitigation, and response efforts. Next slide. So let's start with STIX. STIX is a robust, structured language and serialization format used for describing cyber threat intelligence that is widely used to share CTI effectively and efficiently. The key features of STIX is interoperability, support for automation, and a standard language. So let's talk about TAXI. TAXI is the transport mechanism for STIX bundles. It provides standardized protocols and mechanisms for exchanging CTI. The key feature of TAXI is that it enables machine speed sharing amongst trusted partners. Now, we believe these two standards are foundational to and underpin the nation's ability to speak a common language and build and maintain our national and global cyber threat intelligence and information sharing enterprise, which includes critical threat information exchange with our interagency, international, critical infrastructure, SLTT stakeholders, as well as the broader cybersecurity community to enable rapid cybersecurity coordination and collaboration. So for threats such as Volt Typhoon, the ability to rapidly collect and ingest CTI through STIX and TAXI is a force enabler for CISA and its partners to rapidly generate reports, advisories, and community guidance. Next slide. Next, let's look at cacao. This standard represents a powerful vendor-agnostic capability to identify and execute courses of action to mitigate advanced persistent threat activity. Cacao playbooks are standardized guides and scripts that outline predefined actions and procedures for responding to cybersecurity incidents and threats. The key feature of Cacao is that it allows us to integrate threat intelligence feeds and indicators of compromise and behaviors to enhance threat detection and response. For APTs such as Volt Typhoon, we know that the attack utilities compromise of vulnerabilities found in network devices, so automated workflows like the one illustrated here can be shared openly across the community so that all stakeholders can understand the process for identifying and responding to these exploits. Moreover, it enables security vendors to support rapid ingest of these processes since they are in a machine-readable, open, and secure format. Next slide. And finally, let's take a look at OCA's Indicators of Behavior IOB and how this works in practice. First step, once we've conducted our threat analysis, we want to then extract the attack TTPs from our threat assessment. We then translate this information to repeatable, observable behaviors across campaigns, and then we develop our detections and correlation logic in a standardized format. From there, we identify our courses of action, right, Cacao. In other words, we're formulating the steps we need to mitigate Volt Typhoon's malicious activity, and we combine this information into an IOB sticks bundle, now standardized machine-readable content. And finally, we distribute that content via taxi across the community at machine speed. So just to recap, for APTs such as Volt Typhoon, IOB and these collection of standards have empowered us to take key information and details from our human readable reports and make them accessible to our powerful AI and automation enabled computer systems and machines at scale. More importantly, we have just provided the key information to enable and empower organizations and their MSSPs to better understand and mitigate a powerful APT threat actor campaign. And that, folks, is the power of open, secure standards. Next slide. So we believe Volt Typhoon represents a new wave of threat targeting our nation's critical infrastructure. And CISA is not only poised to lead and manage the response to this cybersecurity risk, but it is committed to the strategic investment in open, secure standards to enable all of our partners and stakeholders to support our national cybersecurity mission. And as I bring my remarks to a close, I want to emphasize the pivotal role that each of you play in the collective defense of our nation's cybersecurity. Volt Typhoon serves as a stark reminder of the evolving threats we face, but it also underscores the power of collaboration and the importance of proactive defensive measures. Together, we have delved into the significance of secure open standards like STIX, TAXI, Cacao, and IOB in bolstering our cybersecurity posture. These standards not only facilitate rapid information sharing and response, but also empower us to stay ahead of the sophisticated adversaries like Volt Typhoon. But our work doesn't end there. It's imperative that we translate our discussions into action. Each of you, whether in government, industry, academia, or elsewhere, has a vital role to play in safeguarding our digital infrastructure. By embracing and implementing these standards, we can collectively fortify our defenses and mitigate risks posed by malicious actors. Your work here is critically important to national security and global cybersecurity. The nation is depending on us to get this right, while our adversaries are betting against us. So I urge and encourage us to leverage the collective brain power of this forum to think creatively about how we can integrate these standards into the same emerging technologies and tools that our adversaries are using to launch disruptive and destructive cyber attacks. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can thwart even the most formidable threats. So thank you for your dedication, for your passion, and your unwavering commitment to this critical mission. Let's go forth and secure our digital future, one standardized step at a time. Thank you. And I believe we're gonna are we opening up for questions? I think we were gonna open it up for some questions. Is that right? And I think the conference room is actually on mute. So there we go.
Hey, JJ, good morning. Tom Stockmeyer from Cyware. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Tom.
Thank you for carving out time today. Great overview. But just a quick question. Given the vision you've discussed, is there anything else that you can think of that we could do to help support your strategy and approach?
Yeah. So, sort of the vision that I've laid out here today really depends on a number of things. It depends on collaboration across the community, with the vendor community in particular, folks like you guys, Tom, and others who have capabilities that these standards should be integrated and adopted into, right? And as you guys are building out your technology stacks and things of that nature, it's imperative that we're working collaboratively together to define and refine these standards so that, we can speak a common language and so that we can achieve broad interoperability, across the community. I'll just say, I think, like I said, I think Marlon is still en route. I'm sure he would have a lot to say on this topic in terms of where you guys can help. But what I'll say is that one of the things that we've always known about the capabilities and the standards that we invest in and build is that it really takes us working very closely with the community to evolve these standards to a point where they're being integrated seamlessly into capabilities and cybersecurity tooling. And one of the things that we've done in our approach at CISA to really enable that is that we baked these standards into our technologies, into our tooling, into our requirements for new services and new capabilities and emerging technologies that we're leading. And so we believe that the dialogue that we're having here, the work that you guys are doing through this forum and other forums like this to build out these standards and mature these over time is critically important to us being able to advance this mission and to be able to get information in the hands of the people who need it exactly when they need it. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Jim. Duncan Sparrow, this whole conference is my brainchild, but I also represent you guys bringing things like SIX to the ITU. Could you say a few words on hitchhike a little bit on what you just mentioned about how you're baking this stuff into what you're doing? Could you say a little bit about how much SIX is used within the government or between any of your other partners? To date, you guys have been pretty quiet. And my personal opinion is it's used a lot more than most people realize. So if you could say a little bit more about that, that would be good.
Yeah, great question. So, and maybe not everyone knows this, is that Sticks and Taxi was initially a DHS-led effort, right? The development of Sticks and Taxi was initially a DHS-led effort in response to the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act of 2015, which basically said, hey, CISA, we need you to go off and develop a capability that allows for machine-to-machine sharing of cyber threat information, particularly cyber threat indicators and defensive measures. And so in response to that, we work very collaboratively with our APL partners, with the broader stakeholder community partners to build, what we know now as Sticks and Taxi. Over time, we determined that the standard had matured to a place where it was probably time to hand that standard over to an international standards body like OASIS to really mature and evolve that, and continue to move that standard forward and integrate that into vendor tooling. And so that's one of the successes of, collaboration in the standards development area. As a result of CISA 2015 Act, we developed, based on Sticks and Taxi, the automated indicator sharing capability, which is essentially, as I mentioned before, a platform that enables the sharing of cyber threat indicators and defensive measures, machine to machine, obviously at machine speed. And so, yes, Sticks and Taxi is foundational to AIS. We're also building other cyber threat intelligence standards into that capability, into that technology to include MISP and other things. However, we're also looking at where Sticks can serve in the role of translating information between proprietary capabilities, tools, and formats to make that information accessible to the masses and to achieve global and more broader cybersecurity information sharing interoperability. And so one of the things that we're doing right now is working very closely with the community to translate incident reporting information into Sticks and Taxi machine readable, machine shareable content. And obviously, you probably are all tracking the CIRCIA efforts within CISA that mandate incident reporting into the government. And we believe that Sticks as a robust standard for communicating deep and rich cyber threat information is the perfect place to house our automated incident reporting capability that we are building out as we speak. And so that's essentially looking at translating information from the incident reporting form, the IRF, into Stixified machine shareable content and making that capability available to the community to rapidly share that type of information into the government. It allows us to ingest and analyze that information in a automated fashion. And it also allows us to be able to push insights from that information that's shared with us and enriched back out to the broader community. And so CIRCIA is another area where we are building on Sticks to, develop and deliver new and innovative capabilities and technologies to the community that further enable and empower us to meet our strategic goals and objectives. I hope that's helpful.
Better now? Yes. Sort of. I was one of your partners way back when we, first got involved in it, when it was the DHS effort, and I'm still involved in it. And your answered it generically. If you give any specifics, I think if you could give, I'm thinking people assume, that means it puts out one incident a day is handled by all of your data, and it made a difference, once in the last year. Whereas I think in real life, it's had a much bigger impact than that. So the AIS program has, one transaction a day or 60 billion or some number. Give some feel that it actually has some value.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of, what is the scale in which Sticks and Taxi offers us the opportunity to push out a mass amount of data to our partners and stakeholders. I mean, AIS, for example, facilitates millions of transactions, right, of sharing of cyber threat intelligence and information, indicators, and defensive measures across the community. It looks like we do have Marlon Taylor and Kevin Klein on the line. Kevin Klein, as our previous AIS engagement lead, now sort of moving up into a broader role, can maybe talk to where Sticks has enabled us to build on the initial successes of AIS. And I will also say we are looking at AIS in particular as a opportunity to sort of revitalize our cyber threat information sharing services. And so, we can kind of speak to what exists today, but we are looking forward to talking with you more broadly about where that capability will evolve, over the next year and over the next couple of years. So Marlon, KK, anything to sort of add, sort of based on the question that we just got regarding Sticks and the use of Sticks and AIS and how that enables a mission?
Good morning.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? Okay. Oh, you
Yeah,
can go,
go ahead,
Kate.
Marlon.
You can go, KK. That's fine.
Yeah, I was going to speak to the automated indicator sharing stakeholder base. We've had many successes growing the latest Taxi 2.1 capability to support a wide range of stakeholder types, such as our federal agency organizations and international, to include international government and international certs, and then also private sector. We recognize that while we have that diversity of participants, there continues to be challenges with individual organization entities that might not have the compatible software tools that best interoperate with the standards required of our service. But there are others that are successfully sharing, generating content and providing benefit and value to the wider community. So we continue to grow that community today, and are excited to continue working with stakeholders to grow that day by day. Thank you.
Yep. Marlon, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. We kind of touched on this yesterday around the whole idea of being standards-based and being able to help the community at large. One of the benefits we have through leveraging Sticks and Taxi, as we've talked about a little bit yesterday, is everyone has data feeds that they may acquire, but being able to standardize that across the board for all of our stakeholders, it really allows us to focus on the analyzing that information in a normalized way and fashion, which we've also received that value from others within the community who stated that the same thing in that regard. So for us is being able to centralize that so that we can actually get back to the higher level pieces of like identifying the different behaviors or techniques that are being leveraged in the community so that we can then have better defenses to do that. So the same thing, I think even Jason's mentioned it earlier, like for data science, one of the harder problems is actually the data cleaning. There are things we have to address with the information that we receive, but at least normalizing it to, that set of standards helps, address that part of the problem. And it allows all of us to kind of be on that same playing field when we're trying to exchange information and have the proper context of what it means when you receive something. So that is definitely something that we see as a value. And we are seeing that through AIS. And then internally, how we leverage Sticks with partners in other capacities has also shown fruit in that same effort.
Thanks, Marlon and Kevin.
I do think you guys need to get better at tuning your own horn because it is pretty good. Other questions in the room? Jason.
Thanks, Duncan. Jason Kearson, OCA and Cyware. Thanks a lot for the presentation, JJ. It was fantastic. You talked quite a bit in your presentation about all the work this is doing to support standards. I wonder if you could just, are there any Other things you thought worth mentioning, upcoming efforts on how CISA is enabling and supporting additional standards to enhance your mission.
Yeah, actually, I think this is a really great opportunity for maybe Charlie and Marlon to kind of speak a little bit more to this as well. I've kind of already spoken to what we're doing in the stick space regarding incident reporting in CIRCIA. And I'd like Marlon to kind of expand on that a bit as well and kind of talk about the work that we're doing in that space. And then Charlie, I'd like for you to maybe talk a little bit more about some of the work that we published through our research and analysis efforts at the lab to really provide the tools and the resources for the community to adopt broader sticks implementations. So Marlon, can you kind of talk to the work that we're doing around automated incident reporting for CISA and maybe expand on some of the work that we're doing around sticks in that space?
Yeah, so CIRCIA also aligns to FIR, which is the Federal Incident Reporting Requirements. That's came out several years ago. And CIRCIA is also refers to incident reporting that will be forthcoming for for the broader community in regards of reporting certain cyber threat incidents to the government. With that being said, there's definitely a manual way of doing that in regards to a form that people have to fill out and answer some specific questions. In the standards aspect of that, we're looking to see what standards could be leveraged to normalize that, once again, as we were just talking about, so that there'll be a machine readable representation of the incident and then the incident related factors. So those are the things we're working on. At the same time, we may be looking to do that, but CISA is just one organization in this large world that we all live in, and that we've also seen work originate within the community around extensions to the current incident object that exists out there. That is not work that we started, but that is work that we are like to contribute to. That's also been seen inside of the CTI TC membership in regards to extend six incident work, which has been led by Jeff Mates in that area, and then also collaboration with other bodies such as FIRST and improving that six extension to be able to ensure that it is addressing their aspects, larger community aspects of incident reporting and incident related factors. So with that being said, it is definitely a standards effort. That standards effort is something where we are at the table in that. That is not something that was CISA led, but that is something where we are once again coming together with the community, and not only members within the CTI TC or Oasis, but then other members across FIRST and other partners out there to kind of collaborate on what would really make sense for having incidents being represented in a machine readable way, and then bringing that to the TC for adoption within the spec so far. Currently, the current status of that work is available out on GitHub. It is one of the extensions that are being made available through the core, which is the common object repo that's already in GitHub through the CTI TC and through Oasis. So that's where you can see some of that work as it's maturing right now. And definitely, if you want to be involved in that, feel free to put a pull request out on the GitHub repo or a comment, and we'll be able to reach out to you in that capacity. But that's just one example, and that kind of goes back to yesterday, like through us having a standards-based approach, we still want it to be extendable. And then, this is just one of the various things that are happening in regards to six extensions, and what you saw yesterday and what you'll continue to see today through the rest of the sessions are how other members of the community, members specifically here at CAST, are really, taking that to heart and implementing extensions to address their specific needs. And then the other thing we want to see through that is that interoperability piece. So if we all live in a world where everyone can create extensions, but none of the extensions work together, then, that kind of defeats the purpose in us having a standard in the first place. So we definitely want to be able to see how these different extensions then can become interoperable, which we could then move that forward into, being part of the spec or being advertised through the TC. And that gets into the six extension process that is currently being updated, which is going to provide more insight into, the different ways that folks can provide extensions. What does that mean for different types of extensions? How do those extensions evolve on their own? And how do those extensions get incorporated into the spec if that ends up becoming the a decision at some point? So those are like some of the things we're doing with standard extension specifically to incidents, and then also speaks a little bit about how that work could then evolve back into the spectrum and inform the broader community.
Great. Thanks a lot, Marlon. And Charlie,
No
can
problem.
you kind of talk about some of the publicly available resources that we provided?
Absolutely. So real briefly, CISA, along with NSA and Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, spent several years working on an effort known as Integrated Adaptive Cyber Defense, IACD. And through that, we conducted several operational pilots, particularly one with the state, local, tribal, and territorial community, where we looked at using these open standards to automate the detection and response to indicators of compromise. That was a case where we were able to reduce the response timeline from 3 days down to 3 minutes. And that was 3 minutes from something that was first seen in the wild to when it was actively blocked across all of the pilot partners. And towards that, that led us to build several publicly available resources. All of the security orchestration workflows have been made publicly available in standardized formats on CISA's GitHub. And I'll be glad to share these links in the Zoom chat later today as I get back to where I type. Additionally, we created a white paper series on about, I think it's about a 12-part white paper series on best practices for the use of security orchestration and machine-to-machine cyber threat information sharing. That's all heavily reliant upon the use of open standards such as SIX and TAXI, as well as a threat scoring methodology known as low regret that is also published out on the GitHub. Again, I'll put those links out there, but those are all available publicly, as well as that pilot's technical report. And we continue to put things like that out there for the community on behalf of CISA.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Thank you, JJ. Thank you, Marlon. Thank you, KK. That was a wonderful talk, and we're now moving on to the next item on our agenda. Let's give Jason a minute to get set up. Give another round of applause for JJ.